Hello and welcome to CCN, Coastal Conservative News. We are your home for local and national news that impacts us here in the free state of Florida. I am Michelle Posey.
And I am Allie Leger. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's begin this week with Katie and CCN's Week in Review.
Hi, I'm Katie with CCN, coming to you with the Week in Review. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. attended his first press conference as U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. Kennedy elaborated on the Autism and Developmental Disability Monitoring Survey released yesterday by the CDC. The Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network is an active surveillance program that estimates prevalence and characteristics of autism among children ages 4 and 8 years old. This surveillance program is established and funded by the CDC. This report comes from a 2022 study performed at 16 sites across the U.S. During the press conference, Kennedy stressed that the study shows a solid proof that autism is increasing at an alarming rate. This is an epidemic. Today, studies show 1 out of every 31 kids will have autism. Kennedy adds, autism has increased over 40% since a previous study done in 1992. Kennedy also states that we shouldn't have to wait years for these types of studies to be released. He is hopeful to get studies out in real time to the American people so that we can take immediate action. He intends to investigate environmental causes of autism and suggests he should identify specific contributing factors by September of 2025. Kennedy plans to identify and implement successful strategies and practices in communities to ensure all children with autism will reach their full potential. San Diego officials say Mexico is continuing to release millions of gallons of raw sewage per day into San Diego County's water. Mexico just dumped 6 million gallons of sewage into the Tijuana River after promising they wouldn't, said San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond. Desmond also added that Navy SEAL training is often moved to northern San Diego from Coronado due to the high volume of waterborne illnesses caused by fecal and bacterial contamination. Reports show that bacteria levels exceed state health standards. Navy SEALs are now being transported from Coronado to Oceanside for training because too many have gotten sick from Mexico's sewage, says Desmond. On Thursday, EPA Administrator Lee said he will visit the area and that Mexico had promised to help activate a facility that will help reduce leakage from issues with the U.S.-funded sewage treatment plant in Mexico. Mexico contributed $16.8 million towards the project's initial construction costs and paid $2 million towards annual operations and maintenance costs, while the U.S. paid $239.4 million towards initial construction costs. Congress approved $300 million in funding to expand and repair the project in 2021 and an additional $250 million in 2024. Still, well short of $900 million required to repair and expand the facility. San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond wrote on X, "The fix is simple. Mexico must treat all of its sewage. No more dumping into the U.S. No more false assurances. No more shifting the problem across the border." In other news, this week, the Mendez brothers' resentencing hearing was again delayed after a dramatic day in court yesterday. The delay stemmed from disputes between prosecutors and defense attorneys over the comprehensive risk assessment ordered by California Governor Gavin Newsom. The California governor told the Mendez brothers' attorney he is ordering the parole board to launch a comprehensive risk assessment investigation into whether the brothers pose an unreasonable risk to the public, if released. The next hearing is now scheduled for May 9th. The brothers, Eric and Lyle Mendez, were convicted in 1996 for the 1989 murders of their parents and sentenced to life without parole. They claim they acted in self-defense due to years of abuse by their father. A claim the prosecution disputes. Their defense attorney, Mark Garagos, is seeking to reduce their charges to manslaughter, which could potentially allow their immediate release. The case has gained public interest following a Netflix series leading to increased media attention. The Mendez family has expressed support for releasing the brothers, while prosecutors argue that they have not fully taken responsibility for their actions. Thank you for watching CCN. Follow for all the latest news.
Welcome back to CCN. Here is Raj Dorsami with our Suncoast Community segment, where he gets the inside story from inside the Van Wezel Performing Arts Center while Anthony Fauci was speaking this past week.
Welcome to this very special community segment, and I'm delighted to be joined by our producer, Kevin Gamble. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Great, how are you doing?
Good. Good to have you on this side of the camera.
Yes.
Versus you're always on over there, controlling all of the switching and so on. The reason I've got Kevin here with me today is because this last Monday, that's going to be the 14th, April 14th, Dr. Fauci showed up in our town of Sarasota, Florida. And as you can see on the screen here, this is the event that he was at. You can see it was put on by the Ringling College Library Association. And Kevin was actually at this event. He went in and was able to listen to Dr. Fauci, and we're going to get his reaction to what happened there. But while you're looking at the screen here, while Dr. Fauci was speaking at that event, there was a huge crowd, a counter-protest, if you will. You can see here Katie from Coastal Conservative News interviewing a number of people that had come to voice their displeasure. You can see the sign here, arrest Charles Fauci. You can see mass murderer in the background there. And so there were a lot of people there. You can see this here. And then following this protest, what happened is then there was an actual series of speakers that spoke downtown Sarasota. And you can see Michelle Posey and Ali Leger hosting the event there. You had Dr. Joseph Ladapo and a number of other speakers who spoke at this event. Now, the reason that they were speaking at this event is because, as you know, if you've been watching this program, Fauci has been paid to speak at multiple events since this whole COVID disaster. And you can see him here speaking at the MedStar Health Georgetown event. Here he's speaking at another event here with Conversation Dr. Fauci, hosted by Georgetown, I guess. Georgetown event back in 2024. But what they are not covering in his talks, and what apparently the people that are paying several $100s on occasion to come and speak to him, they seem to be completely unaware of this other side of Dr. Fauci's work. And I just did a Google here for died suddenly vaccine, and you can see here how many people have been adversely affected by the policies that Dr. Fauci basically rammed into everyone's throat. So, Kevin, you are actually there. And so, Kevin, what was it like? I mean, you just describe what that was in, because none of us went in. You were in there. What was the tone of the room?
It was very strange
feeling. Why do you say that?
Well, first of all, it was fully packed, which was kind of bizarre to me. And they opened with a cartoon. This cartoon had a witch. It had a tadpole and a little circular guy, blue with little beady eyes. And they were running from this witch. And they had children voices, like voiceovers of children running around. And then the little tadpole picks up a mushroom and gives it to the little blue thing, and it eats it, and it's like a psychedelic mushroom. And it's like, these are little kid voices. This is how they opened the Fauci event.
What?
I'm not joking. And then the little blue guy holds his hand up. It's like, whoa, like psychedelic. And then the audience was just laughing and laughing. That's how they opened
A big joke with kids' voices and drug usage.
And drug use.
And that's how it started.
That's how they opened the
Fauci
event. So
how would you describe the audience? I mean, were they mostly supportive? I mean, what was the audience like?
I felt like they were there to see a celebrity, like their hero. They were there
Really?
to support him and like nurture his feelings because he looked down. You could tell he looked down, and he looked like he had a lot of weight on his shoulder, and rightfully so.
Wow. So I did speak to some of the people that were protesting, and they were describing the audience as they were driving in as very angry at the protesters. And so when you say that they were here to, it felt like, see a celebrity, almost their hero, it seems like there's this massive disconnect between those people and what I just showed on the screen.
Definitely a huge disconnect.
I wonder if they're even aware of this other side of the news. So anything else surprised you before Fauci started speaking, like security, atmosphere, anything else that was surprising to you that you didn't expect?
No, I mean, you're not allowed to record. I was getting ready to record the whole thing, but then they had security and police, so no photography and no video recording.
One or two security or
all around. There was
all around.
There was no way for me to go like this. I did do it for a little bit, but then I was like, man, if I get kicked out, I'm not going to get the information I need. So I recorded probably about a minute and a half, and then I put the phone away.
Wow, so the place is covered by, now outside the building, the police had their SWAT team, like, it was like ground zero for a very dangerous place, the amount of police that were there. Yeah. So I think they are aware of the disconnect between what Fauci's talking points are and what a lot of Americans, I'd say most Americans, because they voted President Trump in, are really feeling. So let's go back to Fauci. You're sitting there. Gus Molasses was there as well.
Yes.
And what were the main points that Dr. Fauci emphasized? Was it public health? Was it about justifying the past? What were the main points, you think?
I think some of the main points was justifying the past. It's like he prepared himself for some kind of scrutiny that never really happened. But there was the interviewer was Joan London. She's pretty famous on TV, and she was asking him some softball questions. But then she started giving him a little bit of biased questions, and that's when he went in defense mode. And she asked him, like, did the vaccines hurt or injure anybody or kill anybody? He said, nope. Not one person.
Just like that?
Not one person died from the vaccine.
Why? So nope, and not one person died?
None. Zero.
So he's like God. He knows everything. Across the entire planet, he knows all.
Yes. And he also said hydroxychloroquine does not work.
He said that?
Yes. And he also said there's no definitive proof that COVID came from a lab leak in Wuhan.
Well, he didn't have to say, oh, really?
Yeah.
So almost like trying to go on record in terms of laying a defense for himself or something. It's weird. Much. Like a testimony, if you will.
Yeah, and I kind of saw it in his face, like, yeah, I knew I was going to get these questions, because when she was asking me, he was like, yeah. You could just tell he was ready for these questions, just his body language. So
let me go back to the interviewer, Joan London. So far what you've described is a little bit to me like asking, let me get this analogy right, asking the fox if the fox ate any of the hens,
right,
and then taking the fox's word for it. That's what it seems like to me.
Yes, and then the crowd of foxes were like, "Oh, Messiah!"
It's a very sad thing. I know we shouldn't be laughing, but this is so off the charts ridiculous. I had not spoken to Kevin before this, and I've got people in the audience here that are telling us that we got to get this thing wrapped up. We've got about 2 minutes here, Kevin, before we get this. But this is so interesting. Was there any opportunity for the public to ask questions?
There was no Q&A. And we were anticipating that so hard, especially Gus. He was ready to just grab that mic and ask away. But there was no Q&A. He said his part. He said, thank you very much, and he walked off stage, and that was it. But Gus was taking notes of it.
Yeah, it's remarkable because I'm just put on back on the screen here. Producer's going to put this on the screen here. There is so many incidents of fatalities from this vaccine. I'm just showing you 2 examples here. And if you go to Rumble and just do a search, you will see example after example here on the screen. Cause unknown, the epidemic of sudden deaths in 2021, 2022. So the amount of information about these sudden deaths is just incredible. So Kevin, as we kind of wind up this segment here, no Q&A.
No.
Were there moments where you thought, I guess you've already answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Sure.
Where you thought that's not true, or he's rewriting history?
Yes, very, very much so. And I just kept saying gain of function. I kept saying that like kind of out loud. It was just like a trigger in my brain, gain of function, to the point to where the lady in front of me turned around and was like, and gave me that look. So,
Wow.
yeah, so he lied about the gain of function as well. He said that never happened. Even though there are there are papers out there that prove that he perjured himself in court over the gain of function and meeting certain individuals that he said he never met. FOIA'd, that's what it is. FOIA'd the information.
Well, Kevin, thanks for speaking with us. Thanks. I don't know if I could have survived being in there for that amount of time, but you did it, and thanks for giving us this report here. So, my friends, again, interview here with Kevin Gamble about his experience in this conversation with Dr. Fauci. Telling, no Q&A. Very, very, very telling. Mm-hmm. The interviewer asking questions and not challenging the Fauci's answers. That's just like talking to the fox about the hen. So almost a facade here about having an open conversation about what happened with COVID. But I think what Kevin said here is kind of my takeaway. The people that paid a couple $100 here to see Fauci are literally, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. They don't seem to exhibit any sense of curiosity about what actually happened. They're just taking Fauci's word about what happened, and he's one of the principal characters that's created the controversy. So very, very weird behavior for people who otherwise are probably very intelligent. It's weird how people become sheep. Ali and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Raj, for that report. Not too shocking that Fauci is still propagating lies and special interest narratives. Next up is our political pulse segment right here on CCN.
Welcome back to CCN. Our political pulse segment starts with an update regarding the Gulf of America.
That's right. It's official, guys. The Gulf of Mexico has been officially renamed to the Gulf of America. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida has signed the bill sponsored by Senator Joe Gruters and Representative Megan Weinberger, among others, and this will take place July 1st.
July 1st. I love that we have a huge Gulf coast here. It's going to be kind of exciting. Get your t-shirts ready.
It's going to be right in time for the 4th of July Independence Day celebration, where everybody can go to the Gulf of America and shoot off their fireworks and see the lovely display of fireworks displayed there in the Gulf of America. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
That's going to be amazing. Guys, we've got some updates on the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again front. Just so you know, here in Florida, there are now 41 of 67 counties in Florida that have removed fluoride from their water, with Manatee County being the latest in their 5-1 vote to remove fluoride. Guys, that leaves Orange County, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Indian River, Palm Beach, Broward, and Bay counties as counties that need to have this addressed.
That's right. If you are watching us from those counties, let us help you work with your elected representatives to get this done. Reach us at contact@coastalconservativenews.com. Let me ask you one question, though.
Yes.
Are you tired of seeing the same elected representation on your school board and county commission as if they have made some kind of career out of public service?
Yes.
Well, a term limit bill that will cap the county commissioners and school boards to 8 years has passed the Florida House. This bill was sponsored by Representative Salzman. We're keeping a very close eye on this, and we encourage you to contact your senators to advise them to advance the companion bill.
I'm a little shocked by that because Michelle Salzman is not somebody that I have always agreed with, but that seems like a good bill. So even a broken clock can be right twice a day. Sorry, a little bit of spite there. That's right, Allie. The bills you need to request support of are House Joint Resolution 679 and Senate Joint Resolution 802. Guys, while we all know and have said many times before that we know our Republican trifecta here in Florida, obviously the Senate, House, and governorship, is full of swamp creatures. We know that, right? Now Governor DeSantis apparently sees it too. Governor DeSantis recently called out the ineptitude of the majority of the current Florida legislature, while Florida House Speaker Danny Perez stated in a press conference that, and I'm quoting, "The House will not be bullied." Can I go full throttle for just a moment?
Absolutely.
Listen, this is Governor DeSantis when he ran for president in 2024. He got, I think, 70-some legislators to endorse him and not President Trump. Now, fast forward a little bit to him during the primary season also endorsing a lot of these swamp creatures. I think of James Buchanan as one. He endorsed them. He endorsed these swamp creatures. So I'm having a hard time understanding why now he is surprised, although I'm grateful he's calling them out. Yes. Why is he surprised that they've been inept and up to no good or even not even doing their job? I don't know. That's just what I think, Allie.
No, I agree with you, and this is why it's so important that we connect what they say while they are in office, what they do while they are in office, to what they say while they are on the campaign trail. And that is very well said, Michelle, so thank you for that. And this is exactly why primary elections matter. Take a listen to what DeSantis had to say about this. Roll video.
Even the First Lady, they've tried to do that on. They never ran on any of that stuff, but that's what they're doing. They are not doing what they told you they would do. They are effectively stabbing the voters in the back with this really, really terrible agenda. And the agenda seems to be two things. One, rain down as much benefits by twisting and contorting and changing Florida law up to liberal trial lawyers so that they get more money and everybody else has to pay for that. That's a pure special interest play. There's nobody around the state are not begging to have more ability for trial lawyers to bring more frivolous lawsuits or to have more jackpot justice. Nobody is asking for that. But yet that's a huge component to the House's agenda. And this is a Republican House, supposedly. And so they're doing that. The other part of their agenda seems to be doing everything they can to overturn what we've done over the last 6 years. And I've said this before, if they ran for election on that agenda and you all sent them to Tallahassee on that agenda, I may not like it, but you know what? That's just the way the cookie crumbles. But that's not what they told you they would do. And I'm confident if they told you that they were going to reverse the success of the past 6 years, they would not have been nominated for office and they would not have been elected for office. And this is being driven by the leadership in the House, by some of the entrenched staff. This is the swamp in action. This is the swamp trying to strike back after 6 years of success. After Florida being the model state that so many people have sought to emulate, not just moving here, we will take cadres of people who will come and visit Florida. We have people.
Somehow, "we told you so" seems very fitting.
Yes, but Allie, if you think that was something, this next topic, you guys, is very, very alarming. Allie, some of our state legislators are trying to bully our medical freedom-minded Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo. And guys, listen up. We need your help in stopping this. This is your call to action today.
There is a bill going through the House, HB House Bill 1445, that will require appointees to live in Tallahassee. Senate Bill 1760 is the Senate companion bill sponsored by Senator Aaron Grahl. This bill has been publicly opposed by Governor Ron DeSantis, as he has stated in a recent press conference that he specifically chose people to serve as his appointees who are not in the political bubble of Tallahassee. This bill is sponsored by Republican Representative Debbie Mayfield, who states this bill is intended to promote, quote, promote executive engagement, improve accessibility, and encourage organizational stability. What this bill will actually do, if passed, is remove Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo from his position. This is very concerning, as Dr. Joseph Ladapo has helped keep our state open during the tyrannical protocols and restrictions during COVID-19, as well as voicing his concerns for the bioweapon falsely labeled as a vaccine.
Yes.
Please reach out to Representative Debbie Mayfield and tell her to stop centralizing a swamp in Tallahassee and to stop bullying our great Surgeon General. Please call Mayfield at 850-717-5032, and you can reach Grawl, Representative Grawl, at 850-487-5029.
Guys, this is really important. This is something that you can take effect on acting right now. Right now, this is something you can do to make sure that they keep. We don't want a swamp centralized in Washington, D.C.,
Absolutely
and we
not.
certainly don't want it in Tallahassee. Remember, Joseph Ladapo does not live in Tallahassee. He's not part of that centralized bureaucracy. And what he's done for our state, this is the least we can do for him. But also, I want you to keep in mind, those of you that live in Mayfield and Grawl's district, remember this when primary season comes around. Guys, and then call your local state reps and demand that they do not support House Bill 1445 or its Senate companion bill. You wield all the power in this state. Now is the time to go use it.
Absolutely.
Imagine rewinding to 2020.
Parents obviously can equip their kid to go to school however they want, but there shouldn't be any coercive mandates.
Local school board members made a firm decision enforcing mandates that disregarded the voices of concerned parents.
This virus is going after our young children.
The emergency school board meeting in Sarasota dissolved into chaos as the board discussed mandating masks for students, which ultimately passed tonight.
Refusing to back down, thousands gathered at the Hollow, determined to secure exemptions for their kids. With the support of dedicated doctors, they navigated every path to shield their children from mandates. Yet, despite these united efforts, a darker challenge surfaced. Doctors who issued exemptions became targets, some even losing their jobs for standing by their convictions. That's when the decision was made, a bold new vision to create a sanctuary for children's health and a support system for parents' rights. Thus, We the People Health and Wellness Center was born, founded on a mission to serve, to support, and to protect. This vision has since expanded, aligning with the Make America Healthy Again movement and incorporating the most advanced treatment modalities. Additionally, We the People Health and Wellness Center has launched a series of transformative community-based events, each featuring a trusted expert. In December, Dr. Joseph Ladapo spoke about his new book to a packed audience. Next, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, in an intimate lunch and learn. Still to come, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Brian Artis, plus others. The new management, doctors, and staff of We the People Health and Wellness Center stand with you, ensuring that no parent will ever have to face medical tyranny alone again. We are here to empower, to inform, and to support you for a healthier community.
Welcome back, guys. With Easter just around the corner, let us welcome Kevin Gamble for this week's Faith in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to another segment of Faith in Focus. With Easter around the corner, I want to talk about a pivotal event in human history, the resurrection of Jesus Christ and why it sets Christianity apart as the one true religion. We'll explore the historical and theological weight of this event and how it distinguishes Christianity from other faiths. Let's start with the resurrection itself. According to the New Testament, Jesus of Nazareth was crucified, died, and was buried in a tomb. 3 days later, his tomb was found empty, and he appeared alive to his disciples and others over a period of 40 days. This isn't just a story, it's a claim rooted in history. The Gospels, written within the lifetime of eyewitnesses, document these events with specific details, the names of people involved like Mary Magdalene and Peter, and locations like Jerusalem. In early Christian creeds, such as the one in 1 Corinthians 15, written around 20 years after Jesus' death, affirm that he died, was buried, rose, and appeared to over 500 people at once, many of whom were still alive when the text was circulated, inviting verification. Why does this matter? The resurrection is the cornerstone of Christianity. Unlike other religions, which often center on teachings, rituals, or moral codes, Christianity hinges on a singular historical event. If Jesus rose from the dead, it validates his identity as the Son of God and his teachings as divine truth. If he didn't, as the Apostle Paul admits in 1 Corinthians 15:14, Christian faith is futile. This makes Christianity uniquely falsifiable. Its truth rests on an event that can be investigated, not just a philosophy. Now let's compare this to other major religions. In Islam, Muhammad is a prophet who delivered God's message, the Quran, but he never claimed divinity or rose from the dead. His authority rests on his role as a messenger, not a miraculous vindication like resurrection. In Buddhism, the Buddha achieved enlightenment and taught a path to nirvana, but he died and remained dead. His teachings don't depend on his physical return to life. Hinduism, with its many gods and cycles of reincarnation, doesn't point to a single historical event as proof of its truth. Similarly, Judaism awaits a future Messiah, but doesn't claim a resurrected figure who fulfilled prophecy in the past. The resurrection, however, is Christianity's bold claim. It's not just a miracle, it's God's stamp of approval on Jesus' life and work. Jesus predicted his death and resurrection multiple times, as recorded in Mark 8:31 and elsewhere. His fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies like Psalm 16:10, which speaks of God's Holy One not seeing decay, adds further weight. The empty tomb, the transformation of skeptical disciples into fearless martyrs, and the rapid spread of Christianity in a hostile Roman world all point to something extraordinary happening. Skeptics might argue it was a myth or a hallucination, but myths take generations to develop, not decades, and the early dating of the gospel accounts challenge this. Hallucinations don't explain group appearances or the empty tomb, which even Jesus' enemies didn't dispute. They claimed the body was stolen, not still there. The disciples' willingness to die for their testimony without worldly gain suggests they saw something real. So why does this make Christianity the one true religion? The resurrection is God's direct intervention in history, proving Jesus' unique claim to be the way, the truth, and the life, as stated in John 14:6. No other religious founder claims both divinity and a verifiable return from death. This event offers a bridge between humanity and God, promising eternal life to those who trust in Jesus. Other religions offer paths to God or enlightenment, but Christianity claims God came to us, conquered death, and invites us into a relationship with Him. As we reflect, the resurrection challenges us to investigate. If true, it demands a response. Christianity doesn't just ask for belief, it points to a historical moment that changed everything. Let's expand more on the skepticism of the historical event for Jesus' burial and empty tomb. Here's the case. Multiple early sources confirm Jesus' burial. The burial of Jesus is documented in all four Gospels. Paul's epistles, 1 Corinthians 15:4, and referenced in Acts. These represent distinct, independent accounts, not a single story repeated. Joseph of Arimathea, an unlikely figure, buried Jesus. Joseph, a Sanhedrin member who opposed Jesus' condemnation, buried him. If the tomb story were fabricated, early Christians wouldn't have chosen a figure from the opposing side to play this role. Seems logical to me. The tomb's location was public knowledge since Joseph of Arimathea provided his own tomb. Its location was known. This allowed the empty tomb to be either confirmed or debunked. No one disputed its emptiness. Women, as the first witnesses and credibility in first century Jewish society, women's testimony was often dismissed. If the empty tomb were a made-up story, men, not women, would likely have been written as the discoverers. The inclusion of women points to historical truth. Early opponents acknowledged the empty tomb. Matthew 28:11-15 notes that Jewish leaders claimed the disciples stole Jesus' body. This implies the tomb was empty. Why create an excuse if the body was still there? Critics indirectly confirmed the tomb was empty. Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 15 suggest an empty tomb. Paul states, Jesus was buried and that he was raised. For Jews, resurrection meant a physical rising. If the body remained in the grave, Paul wouldn't have claimed resurrection. And we all remember Paul's past when it comes to Christians. An empty tomb is implied. Christianity's spread in Jerusalem supports an empty tomb. The Christian message started in Jerusalem where Jesus was buried. If the tomb still held his body, the movement would have collapsed early. Instead, it grew rapidly. An early creed places the event close to Jesus' death. In 1 Corinthians 15:3-7, Paul cites a creed he received dated by scholars to within 5 years of Jesus' death, possibly sooner. This creed mentions Jesus' burial and resurrection too early for myth to develop. No competing burial stories emerged. No ancient source claims Jesus was buried elsewhere or that his body was found. If the tomb wasn't empty, rival accounts would likely have surfaced. Instead, we only see attempts to explain the empty tomb. Here's the conclusion. The evidence is compelling. The burial is well documented and early. The women's role is unlikely to be invented. Opponents admitted the tomb was empty. The movement thrived in the city where the tomb could have been checked. What explains this best evidence? The tomb was truly empty. Thank you for watching and God bless.
Thank you, Kevin, for keeping our faith front and center this week. Well, that's it for us this week on CCN. Make sure you follow Coastal Conservative News on all platforms for all of the latest.
And if you guys have a story you'd like for us to cover, please send us a message to contact@coastalconservativenews.com. That's it for us today, Allie. Guys, we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.